Okay, so you want to buy a cruise ship, a floating city, 20 decks of glass and steel, a casino, a water park, a roller coaster bolted to the back, and 10,000 people who paid you for the privilege of being there. You stand on the bridge in a white uniform. The ocean stretches out flat in every direction, and somewhere below you, 1,000 bartenders are quietly turning vodka into money. It looks like the most beautiful business idea on earth. A hotel that moves, a shopping mall that floats, a vacation people pay for a year in advance, and then somehow pay for again the entire time they are on board. And here is the thing, it genuinely is one of the most profitable ideas anyone has ever had. But it is also a business that can lose $10 billion in a single year, capsize off the coast of Italy with 32 people on board, and turn the richest cruise operators on the planet into companies quietly drowning in debt. By the end of this video, you will understand why a cruise ship is not really a ship at all. It is a floating shopping mall with an engine, and why owning one is one of the most dangerous bets in the entire travel industry. Let us start with the part everyone underestimates: actually getting your hands on one. The first question is, what kind of ship? Because the words cruise ship cover a price range wider than almost any product on Earth. At the bottom, you can buy an old, small, end-of-life cruise ship, a tired vessel from the 1990s that a major line is desperate to get rid of, for somewhere between $20 and $80 million. That sounds almost reasonable. It is also a trap, and we will get to why. In the middle sits the modern mid-size ship. Real hotel, real restaurants, a few thousand passengers. That will cost you somewhere around $700 to $900 million. Norwegian paid roughly $850 million for Norwegian Primer. Celebrity spent around $900 million on Celebrity Beyond. These are not yachts. These are skyscrapers laid on their side and taught to float. And then there is the top of the market, where the numbers stop making sense. In January 2024, Royal Caribbean launched Icon of the Seas, built at the Meyer Turku shipyard in Finland. The price tag was roughly $2 billion, 20 decks, almost 7,000 passengers. The most expensive cruise ship ever built, until its own sister ship, Star of the Seas, matched it a year later for the exact same $2 billion. Royal Caribbean has announced it wants 7 of these. That is $14 billion of steel before a single passenger has walked on board. But here is the problem. Even if you have the $2 billion, you cannot just walk into this industry. The cruise business is one of the most concentrated industries on the planet. 3 companies, Carnival Corporation, Royal Caribbean Group, and Norwegian, control somewhere around 3/4 of every cruise passenger on Earth. They own the shipyard's attention, the best port slots, the marketing budgets, the brand loyalty. A new independent operator trying to compete with them is like opening a brand new search engine to go up against Google. And then there is the strangest cost of all, the one nobody mentions, the flag. Your $2 billion American dream of a ship will almost certainly not fly the American flag. It will be registered in Panama, the Bahamas, Liberia, or Malta. This is called a flag of convenience, and it is completely legal. By registering your ship in a small nation with relaxed rules, you escape American labor law, American minimum wage, American corporate tax, and a great deal of American regulation. Carnival, a company that earns billions, has for years paid almost nothing in US federal income tax. Not through some clever loophole hidden in a basement, through the address printed on the back of the boat. So before you have even sailed, you have learned the first rule of this industry. A cruise ship is an American business that has very deliberately, very legally arranged to not be American. Now let us talk about where the money actually comes from. Because if you think the answer is the ticket, you have already lost. Here is the uncomfortable truth at the center of the entire cruise industry. The ticket price. The headline number people brag about: "I got a 7-night Caribbean cruise for $500. That ticket barely covers the cost of carrying that person. The fuel, the food, the crew, the port fees. On a cheap fare, the cruise line makes almost nothing on the cruise itself. Sometimes it loses money on it. So why would anyone run a business like that? Because the ticket was never the product. The ticket is the bait. The cruise line's actual job is not to sail you across the ocean. Its job is to trap you on a steel island for 7 days, with your wallet, and absolutely nowhere else on Earth to spend it. This is called onboard revenue, and it is the beating heart of the entire industry. Once you are on the ship, every single thing around you is engineered to separate you from your money. The drink package, $60, $70 a day per person. The casino, open the moment the ship clears the harbor, running the exact same house edge you would find on land. The specialty restaurants, because the free buffet is intentionally fine, never great. The photographers who appear at dinner like friendly ghosts. The shore excursions sold to you by the cruise line at a comfortable markup, even though it is a local company actually running the tour. The Wi-Fi, sold by the day, at prices that would embarrass a hotel. Now imagine the scale of it. Picture a ship with 6,000 passengers. You are looking at $600,000 a day. Over a 7-day cruise, that is more than $4 million, sitting on top of the fares. And then the ship turns around and sails again next week, and the week after that. This is why modern ships keep getting bigger, and why they pack in water parks and go-kart tracks and roller coasters at sea. It is not generosity. Every attraction is a reason to book the cruise, and every minute you stay delighted on board is a minute you are not spending your money in some port city the cruise line does not own. A cruise ship is a shopping mall that finally solved the shopping mall's only real problem: customers leaving. So now you understand the trick. You were never sold a vacation. You were sold a 7-day membership to a casino with a sea view, and the cruise was just a delivery method. Sounds amazing, right? A floating mall that prints money. Well, not exactly. Because that ship does not just earn money. It burns money. Every second of every day, whether anyone is on board or not. Start with fuel. A large modern cruise ship can burn around 80,000 gallons of fuel a day. The engines never truly stop. Even tied up at the dock, the ship needs power for the lights, the kitchens, the air conditioning, the casino. Fuel for a single megaship runs into the tens of millions of dollars a year, and you do not get a vote on what oil costs that year. Then there is the crew. A big ship carries well over 2,000 crew members, and someone has to pay every one of them, feed every one of them, and house every one of them in the windowless decks below the waterline that passengers never see. Many of these workers come from the Philippines, from India, from Indonesia, recruited precisely because the ship's flag of convenience means they can legally be paid wages that would be illegal in the country the ship sails from. They work 10 to 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, on contracts that stretch 6 to 9 months without a single day off. That is not an unfortunate accident of the business. That is the business. Cheap labor on a foreign-flagged ship is one of the only reasons the math works at all. Then there is food, because you're feeding 8, 9, 10,000 people 3, 4, 5 times a day. Hold on to that idea, because in 2020, the entire industry was about to learn exactly what that costs. Every business has bad days. The cruise industry has catastrophes, and they tend to be the kind that lead the evening news in 40 countries at the same time. Go back to the night of January 13th, 2012. The Costa Concordia, a Carnival-owned ship carrying more than 4,000 people, sails too close to the island of Giglio, just off the Italian coast. The captain, Francesco Schettino, has brought the ship in for a show, a salute to the island. The hull tears open on the rocks. The ship lists, loses power, and capsizes in shallow water, half submerged against the coastline like a beached whale. 32 people die. The Concordia had cost around $570 million to build. What happened next is the part that should matter most to you, the aspiring owner. The wreck could not simply be left there. The salvage operation, refloating a capsized cruise ship and towing it away to be scrapped, became the most expensive maritime salvage in human history, costing well over $1 billion on its own. By the time the lawsuits, the compensation, the salvage, and the losses were all totaled, that one night cost Carnival somewhere around $2 billion. A single bad decision, lasting only a few minutes, erased the entire value of the ship 3 or 4 times over. But one ship sinking is a tragedy. The real horror of this industry is what happens when the whole thing stops at once. In March 2020, that happened. COVID-19 turned cruise ships, sealed environments packed with thousands of strangers, into the most frightening place on the planet to be. The Diamond Princess sat quarantined off the coast of Japan, its passengers trapped on board, broadcast to the entire world, and then all of it stopped. The entire global cruise industry simply shut down. The most modern ships ever built sat empty at anchor, scattered around the world. And remember the rule. The ship must sail. These ships could not. Carnival alone was burning roughly $650 million a month, while earning nothing at all. To survive, it had to raise over $10 billion in emergency financing, frantically, just to stay alive. For its 2020 financial year, Carnival reported a net loss of around $10 billion. The company began selling off its older ships, and some of those vessels, ships that had cost hundreds of millions of dollars to build, were sailed straight to the scrapyards of Turkey and torn apart for their metal. The math of the cruise industry did not slowly weaken, it collapsed inside a single quarter. And the only companies that walked out the other side were the ones with enough borrowed money to outlast the silence. So after all of that, let us actually do the math. You have bought your ship, how much do you really make? Start with the good years, because they are genuinely good. A large, well-run modern cruise ship is a powerful machine. Between the fares and that endless river of onboard spending, a single megaship can generate hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue a year. In a strong year, with the ship sailing full, fuel behaving itself, and no disasters, the big cruise lines are extremely profitable. Royal Caribbean, in the years after the pandemic, has posted record-breaking results. Ships booked solid, prices climbing. When this business works, it really works. But notice what every one of those words quietly depended on: a full ship. Calm fuel prices. No disasters. No pandemics. Here is the realistic version. Your $2 billion ship does not pay for itself in a year, or in 3, or in 5. You are looking at well over a decade of strong, uninterrupted sailing, just to earn back the construction costs. And that is before the interest, because almost nobody buys these ships with cash. The entire industry runs on debt. Carnival and Royal Caribbean carry tens of billions of dollars of it between them. You do not really own a cruise ship. You own a very large loan that happens to have a swimming pool on top. And then there is the bad version, and you have already seen it tonight. One fire in the engine room, one outbreak of norovirus that makes the news, one captain who wants to show off, one virus the world has never seen before, and your floating money printer instantly becomes a floating bill that does not stop arriving. The revenue can fall to zero overnight. The costs never do. So here is the truth about owning a cruise ship. In a good decade, you build one of the great fortunes of modern travel. In a bad year, you can lose more money than entire countries earn. It is a business with the most reliable revenue engine imaginable, bolted onto the most unforgiving surface on Earth. The ocean has been sinking confident men with very good math for 3,000 years. It does not care that your spreadsheet says you will be fine. The smart money in this industry never forgets the real rule. You are not in the cruise business, you are in the survival business. And the ship only has to sail wrong once.